Gurmaigad Cahirle, agus Boilum Dus, Ahandas a goal chig Macholachia Hains or in Jihas agus Skillina, Fahanya and Jigrasa, agus an upper son and Raktiach Shaw, agus Hig and Offig and Ardania, Fosta, agus a Furna Leg, Sonofig and OPC. Tam Chumanta Hain, Hig and Cadriv in their Vratten, agus Éireann, agus son and Cadriv Hui Has, Fosta, agus Goharia and Dulgish Ta Ormsa, son and Co-Inte, Anya and Chasta, agus and Dulgish, Hig and Saroba Atajanta, agus Hig and Ober Amachroin Fosta. I would like to thank the Dáil for the opportunity to explain the principal objectives of this proposed amendments to the Student Support Act 2011. I am joined by Minister of State for Higher Education, Mary Mitchell-O'Connor, who will take you through the specifics of the proposed amendments and her contribution. There has been a shared education ecosystem between Ireland and the United Kingdom since the foundation of the state, and even before that. It has built up over time through personal and professional relationships between educators north and south. As Minister for Education and Skills, I commend their dedication and commitment. Their work has laid a very solid foundation, and we all owe it to them to protect and preserve that collaboration into the future. While we all accept that Brexit will bring change, education is one of many policy areas which has served to build understanding between communities and has contributed in no small measure to peace and reconciliation on this island. Quite simply, taking measures such as I propose today is in the interest of our young people and in the interest of the quality of our education and training systems, north and south. And today I had the privilege of spending 1 hour, a very, very important hour, with young people from 2 schools in Belfast, in Lisburn and St Dominic's Falls Road, and also the Friends and School in Lisburn. And I want to acknowledge their contribution today. And I also want to put on record their frustration in terms of the answers that they don't have and they cannot get as to what the future outcome will be. They had a double frustration. They don't have a vote, and they also felt that they don't have representation and are relying on outcomes between Brussels and London. And obviously, we have a duty to ensure that that generation, a generation of young people who were born between 2000 and 2002, after the Good Friday Agreement in 1998, we have a duty and a responsibility to ensure that their voice is heard as we continue on this journey of the unknown at the moment. Strategic partnerships also, where Letterkenny Institute of Technology and Donegal ETB work closely with the University of Ulster and the North West Regional College to ensure further and higher education provision are closely aligned with the skills and industrial needs for the region. And in many senses, the border does not figure as these education institutions seek to develop a shared education and skills strategy. And many of the collaboration, an MOU was signed up after the referendum in 2016, and while we do have the uncertainty, there are things that we can control, and one of the things that we can control is continue with the collaboration, with the shared understanding that cooperation is important across the educational spectrum. This brings me to the Part 5 of the withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union, Consequential Provisions Bill 2019, which seeks to amend the Student Support Act 2011. The most recent statistics, 2017-2018, on cross-border student flows indicate that there were 2,120 students from Southern Ireland studying in the Northern Higher Education institutions. Of these students, 1,220, or 58% of the total, were pursuing undergraduate programmes. Interestingly, the number of Southern Irish students has declined by some 40% in the 7 years leading to 2017-18. In contrast, the number of Northern Irish students studying in Southern Irish HEIs has increased by 37% over the same time, Numerically, they stood at 1,328, with 1,073 pursuing, or 81% of the total, undergraduate programmes. But this is only part of the picture. In 2017-18, there were 10,070 Southern Irish students in the UK HEIs, with more than half pursuing undergraduate programmes for the first time, while a further 44% were undertaking postgraduate studies. In the same year, there were 2,426 students from the UK and Southern Irish HEIs, with 63% of these doing undergraduate studies. Not only were these students benefiting from EU-free fees status, many also are eligible for SUSI supports. This works in two ways. Firstly, Irish students heading to approved higher education institutions in the UK and UK students pursuing their studies in Irish universities and institutes of technology. In 2017-18, 1,475, or 14%, of Southern Irish students attending UK HEIs were in receipt of a SUSI grant, which amounted to €5.2 million. In terms of the number of UK students in Southern Irish HEIs, 205, or 9%, were eligible for the SUSI grant. This amounted to €0.72 million. The purpose of this amendment is to maintain this scenario. However, it is only one part of the decision to be addressed in the context of higher education post-Brexit. This is the allied question of continued eligibility for EU fees for UK students. Both Minister Mitchell O'Connor and I made an early decision in January of this year to confirm the maintenance of the status quo in 2019-2020 for UK students in Irish higher education institutions. This will continue, of course, for the duration of their programme. Notwithstanding this, I am anxious to bring clarity for the UK and Northern Ireland students for subsequent years. This was a point well made during our engagement with members of the Joint Oireachtas Committee for Education and Skills. This question will be addressed in the context of the Common Travel Area, and it is intended that the current arrangements will continue to apply. And I'm conscious that Deputy Kathleen Funchion raised this issue today in the House. While the CTA will address citizens' rights across many policy areas, I'm anxious to resolve these, specifically its importance for the education systems, both north-south and east-west. My department has worked intensively with UK counterparts and are in the process of finalising arrangements with the Department for Education in London. I am also working closely with my colleague in Taoiseach and Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade, Simon Coveney, to conclude this process. I would hope that I will be able to address this within the next few weeks and clarify this for all concerned. Both the Minister for Higher Education and myself view this amendment as one of the key responses from my department to the challenges of Brexit. It will facilitate the student mobility between Southern Ireland and the north of Ireland and the wider UK, and enable me to meet education obligations under the Common Travel Area. And Chairman, I want to reiterate once again the importance, the responsibility, and also the sense of duty that we have as legislators in this House to the Good Friday Agreement in all its parts. And having spent time with young people today, as I said, born between 2000 and 2002, people who weren't, young people who weren't familiar with what a hard border looked like, what the consequences of a hard border were, we have an obligation and duty to ensure that we protect that very fragile peace process very much in its infancy, although it's 21 years into it. Arish, bhfuil ma ahandas a gól, chydyn dynia lig sa teach seo, fahanya an co-obru, for that cooperation, agus fahanya an galtanas, ag COVID, na rudi a bheith janta, har na blinta siu a hart, agus ag arc, agus ag vrachnu, guji an tochi fosta, and to acknowledge all the work that's gone on to protect what's gone on in the past and also to prepare the ground for the future. I'm reminded of an old Irish shanachal, scacha chéile a warin na dinne. We live in each other's shadows, and the people that have come before us in this House and in different roles in civic society, people who have made sacrifices, people who have lost a lot, people who have lost family. We owe it to the people who have lost, we owe it to the people who have suffered to continue with the protection of the Good Friday Agreement. Tan dulga jarna lig, The responsibilities on all of us, not just on this island, but a very integral part of the Good Friday Agreement is on the East-West basis as well. Agus tam inta jerfa go bheith an hocrú ag bonchama a mahan seo, go bheith méid ag trórai an balla ceart, agus beidir go bheith an mí cinntethe sochgrithe a mahan seo fásta go míle maigad.